In 1943, World War II rages. The Allied forces desperately need an edge, the ultimate weapon. What if a battleship could vanish, not just from radar, but entirely? What if it could be in two places at once? According to legend, the US Navy achieved the impossible. They made a ship invisible. But they didn't just bend light. They bent reality. The result was a nightmare. Men fused into metal, madness, time travel. Today we unseal the file on the most infamous military experiment that never officially happened, the Philadelphia experiment. This is Dark Files Unsealed. The official story, as far as the Navy is concerned, is simple. There was no experiment. There was no USS Eldridge. It's all a hoax. But the legend claims it began with the greatest mind of the 20th century, Albert Einstein. The idea was rooted in his unfinished unified field theory, a concept that links gravity and electromagnetism. If you could manipulate one, could you manipulate the other? Could you bend light around an object, effectively cloaking it? This ambitious goal was dubbed Project Rainbow. The plan, to render American warships invisible to Axis radar and deadly magnetic torpedoes. The test subject was the USS Eldridge, a destroyer escort docked at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. The method? Generate an electromagnetic field so powerful it would literally warp light and radar waves around the ship. On October 28, 1943, the experiment supposedly began. Massive generators on the Eldridge roared to life, creating a strange greenish-blue haze that enveloped the vessel. Eyewitnesses reported the fog intensified, glowing brighter and brighter. And then, the impossible happened. The ship, all 200 tons of it, vanished completely, leaving only an imprint in the water. But it didn't just become invisible. It teleported. Hundreds of miles away, in Norfolk, Virginia, the crew of a merchant marine ship, the SS Andrew Furuseth, reported seeing a destroyer suddenly materialize out of thin air in the harbor, surrounded by a green fog, only to disappear moments later. That ship, they claimed, was the USS Eldridge. It had reappeared in Philadelphia, but when the haze finally cleared, the true horror was revealed. Naval officers boarding the ship were met with a scene of utter chaos and madness. The deck was a wreck, equipment was fried, and a strange odor hung in the air. Some crew members were rambling incoherently, driven insane. Others were screaming in terror. Several were missing, and some had become part of the ship itself. The reports are the stuff of nightmares. Men were found fused into the steel bulkheads, their flesh and bones merged with the metal of the ship, their bodies still alive and screaming. Others were reportedly stuck in a state of partial invisibility, fading in and out of view. A few were trapped in limbo, appearing and disappearing at random until they eventually vanished for good. The surviving crew was subjected to intense psychological evaluation, brainwashing, and most were quietly discharged. The experiment was deemed a catastrophic failure, too dangerous to ever repeat, and all records were allegedly destroyed. For over a decade, this terrifying story remained nothing more than a whispered rumor. Then, in 1956, a UFO researcher named Morris K. Jessup received a series of strange letters from a man calling himself Carlos Miguel Allende. Allende claimed he was a sailor on the SS Andrew Furuseth, the ship in Norfolk, and had witnessed the Eldridge's impossible appearance and disappearance. He described the gruesome fate of the crew in chilling detail, speaking of invisibility, teleportation, and even hinting at connections to secret Nazi wonder weapons. Initially, Allende's letters were dismissed, but then a copy of Jessup's own book was mysteriously mailed to the Office of Naval Research. The book was filled with handwritten annotations in 3 different colors of ink, discussing the Philadelphia experiment in great depth. One of the handwriting styles matched Carlos Allende's. Suddenly, the Navy was interested. Why would they investigate a simple hoax? Were they plugging a genuine security leak or trying to control a story that was spinning out of their grasp? The mystery deepened when Jessup, who had grown increasingly paranoid, was found dead in 1959. The official ruling was suicide, but many believe he was silenced. So, what's the truth? The overwhelming scientific consensus is that the Philadelphia experiment, as described in the legend, never happened. It's a hoax, a fabrication built on layers of misunderstanding and fantasy. However, there are grains of truth hidden in the smoke. During World War II, the Navy was indeed working on a technology called degaussing. This process uses large electrical cables wrapped around a ship's hull to generate an electromagnetic field. This field didn't make the ship invisible to the eye, but it did make it invisible to magnetic mines and torpedoes. A crucial advantage. This real, classified technology could explain reports of ships glowing with a strange energy. Combine that with the general secrecy and tension of wartime, the fact that Einstein did briefly consult for the Navy, and the imaginative storytelling of a man like Carlos Allende. And you have the perfect recipe for a conspiracy theory. It's possible a botched degaussing test, perhaps causing equipment damage and minor injuries, was exaggerated over time, transforming a technical problem into a supernatural horror story. Did the US Navy tear a hole in the fabric of space-time in 1943? Or did a real military project get twisted into a modern myth, a ghost story for the atomic age? The file on the USS Eldridge may be officially closed, but the story continues to haunt our imagination. It's a chilling reminder that in the desperate race for military supremacy, the line between science and science fiction can become dangerously thin. The official records are gone, but the ghost of the ship may still be out there. Thanks for watching. If you want to unseal more dark files, be sure to subscribe.